Hi guys, welcome to a channel where we make sense out of what is already sensible. In today's video, we will be looking at an interesting topic, Pythagoras Theorem. So to begin this, we are going to start with some few questions just to ensure that we have some background knowledge. So we will be looking at squares of numbers. So if we are given a number like 9 squared, what will be 9 squared? 9 squared means 9 multiplied by 9, and that should give you 81. If we have 4 squared, what will that be? 4 multiplied by 4, and that means that is 16. What if we have a number like the square root of 25? The square root of 25 is basically meaning what numbers do you multiply together to get 25. So the square root of 25 is 5 in our case. So you should be able to use your calculator to find the square root of any number. Next, we will be looking at a number that is not a whole number, that is the square root of 352. Square root of 352. So when you plug into your calculator, it should give you a number that is 18.76, that is rounded off to 2 decimal places. A quick one, what if we have a square and we have been asked to find the area of a square that has the side 5? So I'm gonna draw a shape that looks like a square right there, and then this square should be measuring 5 by 5. So the area of a square is given by side times side. The measurement of our sides is 5 multiplied by another 5. So the area of this square will be given by 5 times 5, which is 25 square units. What if we have another square that has a different measurement? So let me use a different square in this case. So assume this square is a bit smaller and it is measuring 2 centimeters. This time around I want to use centimeters and 2 centimeters. So the area of this square will be given by side times side. One side measures 2 centimeters, another side measures 2 centimeters. The sides are the same. 2 times 2 will give you 4. And because it's centimeter times a centimeter, we will have our units as centimeters squared. Think about a right-angled triangle. It has 3 sides, so we should be able to actually start by naming the different sides of a triangle. So a triangle will always have one side which we call the base. So this base is measuring 3 units in this case. So this is the base. And then we also have one side that is called the height. And our height in this case measures 4 units. And then we have the longest side, which is called the hypothenuse. The hypothenuse, remember, it is normally the longest side. In this case, it's 5 units. Now, Pythagoras Theorem came up with a concept saying that if you imagine that each of these sides has a square, and we find the areas of those squares, so assume our height has 4 units, that means our square here will be measuring 4 by 4. Now, what will be the area of this square? We said the area is side by side, which is 4 times 4, and that gives us 16. Now, the second one is a square along the base. So if our base is 3, that means that the square will be measuring 3 and 3 units. Remember, the opposite sides are equal, and this is a square, so all the sides are equal. So the area of this square will be given by side times side, that is 3 times 3, and that gives me 9. So Pythagoras theorem says that when you imagine these two squares, the square along the height and the square along the base, and you find the sum of these two squares, they will give you a total that is equal to the square, the area of the square along the hypotenuse. So if we found the area of this hypotenuse, remember the hypotenuse was 5, so the square measures 5 by 5, so that is 5 units, and then we have 5 units as well. So the area will be given by 5 times 5. Let me use a different color. 5. I think black is way better in this case. So 5 times 5, that should be equal to 25. So this guy says that when you think about the square along the height, which is measuring 16, added to the square along the base, which is measuring 9, it should give you an area that is equal to the square along the hypotenuse, which is 25. And from our units, indeed, 16 plus 9 gives you 25. So in form of a formula, we can be able to say that the base, all right, I started with the height, so I'll start with height. The height squared plus the base squared should give you the hypotenuse squared. So we will be using letters to abbreviate each of these sides. So for the height, we will use a small h. For the base, we will use a small b, and for the hypotenuse, we will use a capital H. So writing this as statements, then it will be h squared plus b squared will be equal to capital H squared. So think about this example that we have been given of a triangle that has a height of 7 and a base of 6. We can be able to find the hypotenuse. So remember the formula. Height squared plus base squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. So let's substitute the values of the height, the base, and the hypotenuse with the values we have in the question. The height is 7, so 7 squared, plus the base is 6, so 6 squared should be equal to the hypotenuse squared. We want to find the area of the hypotenuse, or rather the size. So of course, always think about it like it is a square along the height, so the area of this square will be given by 7 times 7. That's why we are saying 7 squared, which is 49. The area along the base will be given by 6 times 6. That is why we are saying 6 squared, and that gives us 36. So if we have 49 added to 36, what does that give us? It gives us 85. Now, that means that when you look at the area of the hypotenuse, the area along the hypotenuse should be equal to 85. So how do we then find the size or the length of the hypotenuse? So we have h squared being equal to 85. So for us to find the size of the hypotenuse, we are going to find the square root of 85. Using your calculators, the length of the hypotenuse should be given by 9.22 units. In this example, we are given the hypotenuse, we are given the base, we want to find the height. So this is the base, this is the hypotenuse, and then this is the height. So I'll use h right there. So always start by writing down the formula. Height squared plus base squared should be given by hypotenuse squared, or rather it should give you hypotenuse squared. So think about the height. The area of the square along the height is given by h squared. The area of the square along the base is given by base squared. In this case, it's 5 squared, which is 25. The area of the square along the hypotenuse is given by 13 squared, and 13 squared should give you what? 169. Alright, so let's look at how we can be able to find the heights then. So h squared, we do not have the height, so I'm gonna leave it as h squared, plus the base squared. The base squared is basically the area of the square along the base, which is 25, should be equal to h squared, capital H squared, that is the area of the square along the hypotenuse, which is 169. So this brings in the concept of a linear equation. So I want to start by remaining with the unknown, which is h squared. So I'll take this 25 to the other side. So is equal to 169. When 25, a positive number, goes to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes minus, so minus 25. So h squared should be equal to 169 minus 25, that should be 144. Now, if h squared is 144, what will be the h? You find the square root of 144, and the square root of 144 should be 12 units. So that means our height in this case will be given by 12 units.